Aberdeen fullback Shay Logan. Shay, a pleasure to have you on, and your former team have been hitting the headlines since the start of the season.
Thank you. Pleasure to be on. And yeah, they've been they've been running really well. They've had a great start to the season. I'm not too sure when the last time they had as good a start to the season as this. So long may it continue.
Would you have liked to have played under Jimmy Thelin?
I played under a great manager. Derek McInnes couldn't have played under a better manager, to be honest. But I'm hearing good things about him. I still speak to Graham Shinner. He's a good friend of mine, and he has nothing but positive words to say about him. So yeah, on that respect, absolutely.
You think a few people have just been surprised by the fact that Aberdeen have managed to go as far as they can? Obviously, the first league defeat of the season against St Mirren, but I think people might have looked at it back in October and predicted that the wheels were maybe going to come off. Do you think this is a team that are capable of sustaining the form we've seen in the opening months of the campaign throughout the course of the campaign?
Listen, it's a difficult league, especially when you're playing, the teams of like Celtic and Rangers. But at the end of the day, you've got to understand St Mirren aren't a bad team as well. You go to any home ground, and it's going to be tough. You've got the fans on there behind them. Even though Aberdeen have got great support, you can't. You can't see the future. But I've watched Aberdeen's most of the games this season. I know although they've had a great run, they have had a few games where they probably could have and maybe should have lost, and they've ended up nicking wins. You go 2-0 down at Celtic and bring it back to 2-2. Doesn't happen very often. So I wouldn't say the wheels have got a chance of falling off, but you've just come up against good teams, and they're strong, but on the day anybody can win.
What do you think they need? And one, do you think they're capable of going and getting that second spot? And what do you think they need to achieve that?
Just keep going how they're doing. And yeah, they can definitely get that second spot. But at the end of the day, Rangers are going to be up there as well. They're a very, very strong team. Let's not make any doubts about that. They're not playing as well as they have been previous years, but they're always going to be strong. They've got a little bit of a bigger squad than Aberdeen as well, a little bit more money behind them, so maybe they can boost and get a few players in January. But in terms of the second spot, absolutely, they've shown this season they can beat teams home and away. They can go to the likes of Celtic and get a draw there from 2-0 down, which I wonder what the price at the bookies would have been for that. So they can definitely, you've got a good manager behind them, they've got a good set of players, and they just have to take every game as it comes.
Does it become a mental pressure just being in that position as much as anything? Obviously, at the minute, they still have a fairly commanding lead over Rangers between second and third.
I've been in that position before, and it doesn't really sit on the players like that. You just see it as playing football. The fans will see it like that because obviously above Rangers and you want to finish above them and stuff like that. But as the players, you just take each game by game. You go into it preparing how you prepare for every other game, and hopefully you get 9 out of the 11 players playing really well. And if you get 9 out of the 11 players playing really well, you have a good chance of winning that game. So in terms of that, what will be will be.
Obviously, given the resources that Rangers have got available to them, should Aberdeen really be finishing above them?
Should Leicester win the Premiership? Do you know what I mean? It's a game of football. It's however many games, 38 games of the season. Things happen. I finished above Rangers a few times when I was there, and they're a massive club. But at the end of the day, we had a very good squad. We had a very good manager, a very good assistant. We had a very good team, and we did everything right. So if you do that over the course of the season, there's every chance you can finish above Rangers. And like I say, you have to have a good season, and Rangers don't need to be at their best for you to do that as well. So they're not playing the best, and Aberdeen are playing as well as they can do at the minute. So like I said, you just got to take every game by game, and they've got a points leading above them now, and they just got to build on that.
You mentioned that you'd been along and watched a couple of games. I think there've been last 4 games have been sellouts, fantastic atmospheres at Pittodrie. Obviously, Celtic are there for a huge midweek game. How do you see that one going?
Celtic are just very strong out there. I've always said this. The strongest team I've ever played against is Celtic's Brendan Rodgers' team. He has all his players firing. They play for him, and they're just I think the thing about Celtic is the recruitment. They don't really get it wrong, and I think they've recruited some great players. So it's going to be a very, very difficult, game for Aberdeen next week. And coming off look at the cup game the other day, I actually sort of seen not a result. I wouldn't have said it. I was going to say it was going to be that high, but I did see Celtic running away with that game, just because of they're just a very, very strong team, and they probably had a little bit of a thorn in the side from the 2-0 lead that they let go against Aberdeen, and probably wanted to prove a point, as literally they are the best team in the league. Let's not put any doubts about it. But Aberdeen can come and spoil the party at home, as they've done against Rangers this season. So I'm hoping for an Aberdeen win, but it's going to be a tough game.
What do you think? What's in the minds of the players going into that one?
Just you got to give it 100%. But at the end of the day, is to beat Celtic, you've got to be on it 100%, and hopefully they have a little bit of an off day. That's what it takes to beat Celtic. If both teams play the best, Celtic win, and that's just normally how it is. But at the end of the day, when we've beat Celtic at Pittodrie before, I've been there when we beat them at their ground as well. So the way the manager's got them playing, there's absolutely no doubt they can get some points off Celtic. And like I said, I hope that happens.
Who are the guys within that Aberdeen team that you think would be pivotal to going out and getting a result?
Every one of them. You need 11 players on the pitch. You need the 5 or how many subs come on, because that's what it takes to beat Celtic. Like I said, Celtic have to have a little off day, and Aberdeen, every single person who plays from that day has to give 110% and has to, give it all for the team, because that's what it takes to beat a Celtic team, and that's just how it is. It's I also relish the chances of playing against Celtic, because I know it is. I had the likes of Scott Sinclair against me, who's probably the sharpest player I've ever played against, and you just have to watch them 100% of the time. Do you know what I mean? Because it's one split second, it's a goal, and if you go a goal down against Celtic early doors, as you've seen in the cup, it can be 6.
You obviously too had a bit of history with Celtic being involved in a very high profile racism issue. What are your reflections on that now that you've kind of moved away from professional football, and what do you see maybe has to change within the game?
My views and it's still the same. It should never happen. It's always going to happen, because at the end of the day, it's a choice that an individual makes at the split second of a time that it happens. Do you know what I mean? You can do all these campaigns and everything like that, but at the end of the day, if one person has it in his head that he's that angry at that moment that he feels he needs to say something along the lines of racism, how can you stop that? You know what I mean? I can say anything I want right here now, right now. No matter my upbringing, it's my choice to say what I feel, and it's just it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't have happened in 2014-15 when it happened, and it shouldn't happen now. But you still see it happening as we play the game now.
Were you disappointed by the reaction from the likes of the Celtic fans? Because you always seem to be singled out for a very particular kind of welcome in subsequent meetings between the teams.
It's just the fact that they didn't know what happened, and they're supporting their team. So on the flip side of that, I understood it, and I didn't really care. Anybody knows me about, and it never affected me. Like in terms of like, it should just never happen. But they obviously only seen what you see in the newspapers and in the news and stuff like that, and online. They don't actually know the facts of the case and going to court and stuff like that. They don't see that. And I've actually never spoke about it like publicly till this time. This is the first interview I've ever done. People have asked me to do interviews so many times, and it's never just been. I've just nah, not really bothered about it. Don't really want to bring it back up. But it is what it is. If anyone asks me, I spoke about it to a lot of people, a lot of Celtic fans. I work with a lot of Celtic fans, and they actually ask me what's happened. And when I tell them, they just think like, "Wow," do you know what I mean? Because they don't actually know how it went down.
Mm-hmm. Who was particularly supportive to you at that point in your career and that point in your life?
It was honestly a thing. It's like, you don't really know me, but anyone who knows me, it never affected me. Like a guy saying something to me, it's never going to affect me. Like you go to Celtic Park and the fans booing you. I love that sort of stuff. So I got that. That's what made me thrive. So it was just a thing. It was like, yeah, we had, Derek McInnes was excellent. Doc, I had a club behind me. Obviously, my family's always going to be there, but anybody who knows me, I just laughed it off. It was a case of, right, you've said this, okay, you'll get dealt with how it gets dealt with, and we move on. Like, never really wanted to keep bringing it up, but it was just one of them things. It's like, it's water off the duck's back, and that's the truth. Saying it is literally water off the duck's back. You can say whatever you want to me. I'm playing a game of football for my team, which was Aberdeen, and that's how it's going to go.
That's a fairly sad reflection that it's water off a duck's back too. Does that mean that it's not an isolated incident, that you've maybe grown up, that there's been repeated instances of that you somehow become not immune to it, but you become aware of it and almost used to it?
No, I wouldn't say I definitely didn't grow up with too much racism. It was odd little bits in there, but I definitely didn't grow up. Even though like where I'm from is predominantly white at the time, I was never really racially abused. It's more playing football that I've been racially abused, to be honest. I played a few months back for a vets team, and they obviously didn't like that I could still play football, and we ended up winning comfortably. And I wouldn't say I was taking the mick out of a few players, but I was playing how I can play, and one of them just said something to me, and I just laughed at it, because I just thought, if that's what you've got to say because I'm better than you at football, then let it be. It is what it is. He was a grown adult. He knows what he was saying was wrong, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's not going to affect me. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to take it to heart. It doesn't affect my day, my week, my year. It is what I've ducks back in terms of like, you can't I can't make somebody say something or not say it. They're going to say it, and it's on them to deal with the consequences.
It's a fairly appalling indictment, though, of some of the cultures that still remain prevalent, particularly within football. Do you think the game has got an onus to maybe take it a bit more seriously rather than maybe just perfunctory things like we have the show racism, the red card? Do we have to back that up with proper action?
But then it's what is the proper action at the end of the day. Is I think Tonev got banned for 7 games. For me, like I said when I went to court, I don't care if you ban him, fine him, sack him. It's irrelevant to me. But at the end of the day, is if somebody wants to make that sort of remark, then they have to be held accountable. But at the end of the day, it's what is held accountable. Do you know what I mean? How many games is good enough? Is 7 games? Is 10? Is 3? Is the whole season? Who knows how many games that is? I think then the panel just comes to the decision. But at the end of the day, is he got banned for 7 games. I was happy with whatever happened. Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I've got a side to me as well. Is like, I don't want him to lose his career just for something he said to me, because it didn't affect me. I would feel bad if he would have lost his career if this punishment was, right, you can't ever play football again just because of a spur of the moment thing that he said to me. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's something that I don't think will ever be resolved in terms of what's the actual punishment you can give to somebody, because racism's racism, and if you say something to one person or I say it to 20 people, do you know what you give him? Less of a ban or more of a ban? It's a thing I'm glad I don't have to deal with, to be honest.
Would an apology have gone a long way?
Not really, in terms of like I said, it didn't really affect me. So you can apologise. Yeah, I'll take it. Like I didn't have a hold a grudge against him. Do you know what I mean? Like I never actually come across him again. But you can you can apologise. But at the end of the day, you said what you said at the time, and it's like, right, you've had your ban. Let's move on. But I got an apology from Celtic in terms of from the club. But at the end of the day, it happened, and it is what it is, and you can't really do much now. And it'll happen again to somebody else. You know, it'll happen this season. I can guarantee that. It's just the person who is saying it has a choice, and it's his choice to say what he wants to say at that particular time. Do you know what I mean? But the damning thing is, like, when you are a black player or a player of ethnicity, when somebody's angry at you, the first thing that they think about is to say something about your colour. And I just don't get it. I never look at anybody regarding whatever colour you are and think, I'm going to say this to you. Like, I always think, if I'm going to call you I'm going to call it you. It doesn't have to be what colour skin you are. I'm just going to call you this. But some people just quick like that, boom, and it's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. And whether they are racist or they grew up like that, at that particular time, you've just become a racist. So it's a choice that people have to deal with, and hopefully Tonev learned from it and, you know, never went on and said anything else like that, or, you know, because at the end of the day, it's like, I don't hate him, never hated anybody. So I just hope he learned from the experience, because, like say to me, it was water for ducks back.
You say it's water off our ducks back, but do you fear for your own kids coming up against something like that?
It's funny you say this. I was walking with my youngest, picking up from school the other day. There was two kids on bikes, and I don't know why or whatever. There was nowhere near us. They said the N word, and my son went, "That they just said the N word to us." And I heard him say it, but I didn't think it was pointed at us because we were just walking. And then I was just like, "Listen, lad, you're gonna get people who just are gonna say things like that out of the absolute blue." But if he's got my mentality, he'll be absolutely fine. Because it's the old saying, sticks and stones. But at the end of the day, it's like, we can't make somebody not say anything, so they're gonna say it. But now I don't play football. It's a different. If you said that to me walking down the street, although them kids said it on a bike, if you said that to me walking down the street, it's not going to end up in me reporting it to the referee. Do you know what I mean?
That's a shocking incident, though. That's utterly appalling.
Terrible, terrible. It was. It was, and I heard it. I was actually hoping that my little boy Zeppelin, who's 9, didn't, and he did, and I sort of like didn't say anything. But then he said to me, I was like, oh, he's heard it, and yeah, and but what can I say? That's that, and them kids were like 13, 14 years of age riding the bikes, and yeah, so it's learned. It's told me that I don't even have to be interacting with anybody for it to actually be a factor in life, and it is shocking, but hopefully these sort of people will come round.
It's also fairly depressing that you're sitting and having to have a conversation with your primary school age children about the fact that they're the ones who need to be taught how to react to that and not really the aggressor in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've got an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old as well. And Milan's come across cases as well in school, not particularly aimed at her, but she hears it. So it's about, like I say, it happens in all forms of life. It's never going to go away. But at the end of the day, is I can just teach my kids to, like I say, water for ducks back. Don't take any notice of it, because at the end of the day, it's them. Those people are the ones with the problems. Whatever skin color you are, you don't have to have a problem with whatever skin color you are. Like, if people don't like you, let them not like you for something you've done to them, something you've maybe said, but never be upset because of the color of your skin. Because at the end of the day, is you should never be upset about that. This is what we are. They are what they are, and we can all get along. And for people not to like somebody because of the skin color in 2024, in 2000, and you know what I mean, it's shocking, but it's a form of life.
Do you feel as though there has been a shift in culture, that maybe some of the political climate that we live through just now, do you feel as though there has been an increase in incidents, or do you feel as though it's something that's just always been there?
I would say it's always been there, but like, I'm not very political, so if I was talking about politics, I honestly wouldn't know too much about it. But you see the likes of stuff happening in the world, and people have this view about them sort of cultures, and you know but at the end of the day, they're only seeing what they see on TV. It's like Celtic fans only seen what they're seeing in the news and in the papers about the incident with myself. So we actually don't know too much of what's going on. But everyone's got an opinion, and that's sometimes what the bad thing is. Everybody has an opinion on it, and not everybody has the same opinion. So it's, but then that's why we love the world, because it is opinionated, and freedom of speech and all that. So it is what it is. It's difficult for me to say, because I really don't have a strong view when it comes to racism, in terms of, I honestly don't care, like, in terms of if you want to say anything to me. But I've got kids and I've got friends who might have a different approach, but my mentality is, you'll never ever say anything to me that's gonna upset me. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why I have this mentality. I don't know why I'm the way I am. It doesn't phase me. So it's it's shocking that it's still happening to today's world, but I honestly cannot see it not happening. Whether it's tomorrow, a year's time, where people are always going to have different views, and people aren't going to like people of color, and that is just the way it is. Sometimes not everybody, because I've got, most of my friends are of the white color, and we all get along fine. I've got, it's just the way life is, and it's a sad thing, but it is.
Does it come down to maybe people being a wee bit more open-minded, in terms of maybe just not always seeing an incident through the prism of the football team that they support and the colours that they support?
Yeah, absolutely. But then it sort of becomes that, doesn't it? Because I play for Aberdeen and I'm playing against Celtic, and then something's happened with a Celtic player, and automatically I'm the bad guy. I'm the bad guy because I'm on the opposition team. Do you know what I mean? They're not seeing the fact as, wait a minute, he's been racially abused. Let's put colours aside in terms of football. What's actually gone on here? Is this the right thing to do? Is this the right thing to say? Like, but I've, football's you'll never get a game like it. The emotions that you can run through. Do you know what I mean? If I score a last minute winner at Celtic Park and celebrate in front of Celtic fans, I'm getting abuse. And when something like that has happened years prior, sadly, some of the abuse may be on the racial side. That's just how it is. I would not understand it, because I would know why they would saying it, because I actually just ruined their weekend, their week. Do you know what I mean? Should it be happening? Absolutely not. But it does happen, and it will continue to happen. And I'm not the person to say what will stop it, because if I was to say honestly, I would say it would never stop.
What would your advice be then to any young black players coming through and just making their way in the game?
Absolutely be yourself. Never be afraid to be who you are. At the end of the day, if I was always a loud, outgoing, boisterous, give 100% for Aberdeen, whether I was playing Celtic, Rangers, St Mirren, whether it was at, Celtic Park, Ibrox, Petodra, I was always myself. At the end of the day, I'm playing for a football team, which is Aberdeen, and that's my employees, that's my team. I want to win at all costs. So whatever you have against me because I'm playing for Aberdeen, okay, understand it. But on a human morale, know that I'm a good guy. You'd obviously only see this side of me playing football. I know how good of a person I am. Just keep it to football. That's what I would say. Just keep it to football. But the kids growing up, just be yourself. Don't be don't be scared of, if you are a loud person, if you are quiet, don't be scared of being who you are. Because at the end of the day, is you can only be yourself. You should never try and impress anybody else. It's as long as you are who you want to be. If anybody else has a problem with that, then it's not on you, it's on them. And you'll meet a lot more people in the world who won't have a problem with it than you will that will. So world's about opinions, and not everyone's gonna have the opinion of you want of yourself. But as long as you have the opinion that of yourself that you want, you'll be absolutely fine.
How has being away from football changed your perspective? I think you're working offshore at the minute. Like, how has that changed your world view of things?
I've met a lot of Celtic fans and Rangers fans who thought I was a different type of person than I am, and one actually phoned the wife and apologised to her in front of me, which was I found quite strange and satisfactory because he's a big Rangers fan, and he's a big Celtic fan, and he really thought I was a different type of person I was. But having a coffee with me in the morning, sitting down and speaking about that incident and the stuff that went on at Celtic Park, he just said, "I'm so sorry." Like, and I said, "Don't worry about it." I obviously, like I said, there is you only see one thing. You see me being a footballer, me, playing for Aberdeen, and you don't understand what sort of person I am. So when you sit down and speak to myself, you get a different Shay. You get a different Shay Logan. That's like I said, when I play for Aberdeen, I'm 110% in for Aberdeen. So no matter who I'm playing, and I love Man City. Whether I'm playing Man City, I want to beat Man City when I'm playing for Aberdeen. So that's just the way I am. But I take a step back in terms of I want Aberdeen to do well. I look out for them, but at the end of the day, now it's not the end of the world if they don't win at the weekend because I'm not involved in it. So I don't have that tie where I'm, have a rubbish weekend because we've been beat. But in terms of the league, I still watch the games when I can. I've got a son who's 15, who's just going into college next year, and I've got a parents' evening tonight about his football college. So it's more of now I'm a family man in terms of my focus is on what they do. Zeppelin plays basketball, Milango's drama, Caleb plays. So I'm more of a fan of watching them now. Like, I don't let football consume me as it did when I was playing. And people say, do I miss it? I don't. I miss games, the interaction with fans and stuff like that, but I don't miss hotels and all the weekly stuff. And it's I've met a lot of footballers outside of it who are exactly the same. It's the best job in the world, bar none, being a professional footballer. Maybe a golfer, although I didn't play professional golf, but it's the best job in the world, and I had 17, 18 years of it, and I could say I'm happily retired.
Well, brilliant. Listen, that's all we've got time for. Shay, I thank you for what was a really candid and an engaging interview, and if it hopefully makes a few people possibly pause for reflection. But thank you for listening and thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel.